Om Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. Lessons for Life from Swami Jagadatmananji's inspiring book, Learn to Live, Volume 2, Chapter 1. Give up worries and anxieties. Imaginary fears can make life hell for us. But with the help of clear thinking and wisdom, we can get rid of these unfounded fears. With the help of clear, rational thinking and wisdom, we can get rid of these unfounded fears. This is explained in this episode, Imaginary Fears. You might laugh at my story. A young man began to narrate the story of his imaginary fear. In those days, my fears had no limit. If there were fierce wind, I would be struck with fear that the roof might be blown away. A thunder would seem to strike me like a blow by death. The description of the tortures in hell would drive me to imagine the infliction in hell in the aftermath of death. If the workers were tardy in carrying out any orders, I would be worried as to how I could carry on amidst these lazy workers. I feared that they might assault me if I took them in any way to task. I would imagine that when I walked, the girls ridiculed my gait. I was constantly worried that no girl would ever like to marry me. I would be worried as to how I would conduct myself in the father-in-law's house. If my wife lived in the village, I would imagine walking on the lonely road to her house, I might be assaulted and waylaid by robbers and get scared out of my wits. Once a friend of mine told me another story. It seems the other day Babu of our neighborhood was bitten by a snake. They said he died within half an hour of the snake bite. We should be careful. This is a region where snakes frequently sneak in. Fear about snakes overpowered me as a result. I purchased a torch and always carried it when I went to the town in the evening. If anything stirred, I would jump in fright. When I went to bed, my fear had no limit. Every hour I would wake up, put on the light, and look round. My mind was obsessed with the fear of snakes. If I was bitten on the leg, I could put a tourniquet around the leg. But what could I do if the snake bit me on the head? I was shattered by fright. For 6 months I carried the torch wherever I went, but not once did I see any snake. I was ashamed of myself. I laughed at myself for having filled my mind with pictures of unnecessary fear. I realized how foolish I had been in harboring fears, none of which proved true. Grit in cooked rice doesn't mean that the whole quantity of rice is filled with grit. If there are disasters here and there, it does not mean that the whole life is full of disasters. If we have some power of reasoning and a little wisdom, we can free ourselves from this imaginary fear. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.